Hi and welcome to our Yamaha development atelier. My name is Thomas Lubitz and I'm a Meister for brass instruments and have been working on Yamaha instrument development for many years. In particular, the development of trumpets has been a major focus for our atelier team. Together with our colleagues in the US, Bob Malone, and our design division in Japan, we have developed many of the latest trumpet models. Choosing the right instrument is a very difficult and personal decision. Therefore, I'd like to give you a little peek into our atelier and some background knowledge that will help you to make your choice. Now I would like to show you our test room, where many prototypes have been tested and developed. As you can hear already, some guests are enjoying their trumpets.
As you can hear, we have a jazz trumpet player here. He's not just a player, he is the Italian lead player. He played with many big bands all over Europe, with a lot of different great musicians, just for example like Maynard Ferguson, Mr. Andrea Toffanelli.
Thank you, my friend. And we have here another fantastic, outstanding trumpet player. He is professor at the Hochschule in Hanover. He's very active in the field of the chamber music. He gave so many concerts with the Canadian Brass Quintet and is actually a member of the Stockholm Chamber Brass. Mr. Jeroen Bervaars.
So when developing a trumpet, every little detail needs to be checked very carefully. Many of the smaller details which influence sound and response can only be found after long and intensive trials.
Yes, do you remember when you changed the bottom caps on my instrument? And what a difference it made.
Yes, you're right. We need to pay attention to every little detail, because every tiny part of a trumpet has a function to affect the sound. Today, we can't really go through every detail, but would like to explain the basics. Let's start, for instance, with the lead pipe. Usually, the lead pipe is the first impression a player gets from the instrument. Here, they feel how the air flows, what the response is, and how the intonation works. Two very different lead pipes may feel equally good, but providing totally different sound results. In our professional range of trumpets, we provide 6 different lead pipe versions. Every single one provides its own character and differs in length and shape. Just by looking at these lead pipes, you may not spot any difference. Therefore, we have prepared a small graph to explain the difference. Some of the main differences can be found in the venturi of the lead pipe, the tapered shape and the length.
Yes, Thomas, could you tell me exactly what that means for me as a player?
Well, basically speaking, the length of the lead pipe and the venturi size are mainly influencing the response. The tapered shape is more responsible for intonation and sound. Of course, you can't see one without the others. All components must be in good balance to each other, to providing the best results.
And Thomas, I have a question that could be interesting. For you as a technician, what do you mean by response?
Well, the response is something every musician will feel differently. It's something very personal, and it's a personal impression that stands in conjunction with the whole instrument. For example, a rather light and easy response might not be the right solution for everybody. The resistance should be perfectly adjusted to the type of players. Let's have a quick look on our graph. The lighter we build the instrument, the easier the response will be. The heavier, the more energy we have to use to get a good sound. The bore size is very influential for the response as well. Usually, the bore size is measured in the valve section, where we measure the inside diameter of the inner slides and the piston ports.
And so this diameter shows if an instrument is medium large or large bore.
Yes, you're right. These sizes have been defined long time ago, and they are standard on most trumpets nowadays. Depending on the type of player, one can choose the right bore size. You, as a lead player, using a lot of airflow, would always feel better on a large bore instrument. Jeroen, as a classical orchestra player, would feel much better on a medium large. And actually, this is same for semi-professional or even amateur players.
Thomas, you are absolutely right. I really need a large bore to get all the air through and to have the space to open all the high notes. And Jeroen, why did you decide to play a medium-large Zeno, a medium-large bore Zeno for all your gigs or your concerts?
Well, firstly, because of the easy response of the instrument, and secondly, which is for me very important, it's very flexible. I can use this instrument in the orchestra, in a solo concert, in chamber music, loud, soft, in any style.
As you can see here, two outstanding trumpet players with completely different musical requirements are looking for different instruments. The question is not whether medium large or large is better. It's finding the right balance for each player. It's all decided by the sound.
You're absolutely right, Thomas. It's so hard to find a good way or a good terminology to speak about the sound of a trumpet. When I try out the trumpets in a quite big hall with colleagues, one colleague may name it as being brilliant or bright, and a third one may call it even aggressive.
Particularly during the development processes, it is important to use the same terminology about the sound. Therefore, we start by finding a common understanding with the musician before we begin testing the instrument. Let me explain this with a picture. Firstly, in the center of the note, we have the so-called core of the sound, which we usually hear as a strong middle and low overtones. It is influenced mainly by the weight of the instrument and the individual playing capability of the player. This core is surrounded by higher frequencies and overtones that are provided from the material of the instrument and influenced by the metal gauge and the construction process. What we hear as a complete sound is the result of both parts together. If we are looking at the sound of the instrument as a picture, we can clearly recognize different core sizes or the amount of higher overtones. From experience over time, listening to many musicians and instruments, it is possible to analyze the sound very precisely. When now testing with musicians, we do not talk about bright or dark sound, but defining the amount of overtones and the size of core. Again, the combination and balance makes the difference. If one is too strong, the instrument might sound unbalanced.
By the way, talking about the sound, some instruments are made with different finish. And so, does it also change the sound? Because, there are some wild theories among the trumpet players about it. So, can you explain?
Well, the different processes will cause several different finishing structures. If looking at an unlacquered instrument, we would define the sound like this. Now, when the instrument is lacquered, which means lacquer is sprayed on the surface, and hardened by a certain temperature, it makes more regular overtones. The sound is a bit rounder. If the instrument is silver-plated, the core gets larger because we're adding metal to the original brass, and the overtones become more regular. If it is gold-plated, it has a similar effect, but will be even stronger. About 30 years ago, the lacquering was mainly seen as a surface protection for the instrument. Nowadays, we treat the finish variations as sound options. Therefore, selecting an instrument should not be done just visually. Let the sound decide.
Yes, there are so many things we have to watch very carefully when we choose an instrument, but the most important thing is still to really try out every different kind of instrument, every different size for yourself, so you can see which instrument is the best for yourself. It's all a matter of personality and way of playing.
That's absolutely correct. Therefore, we have many different models, so everybody can choose the best combination for them. How would you describe the different types of players? Or, more importantly, which requirements do musicians have playing in different styles?
Well, I mean, there are two different kinds of players, a jazz and a classical player, of course. And being a classical player who's some kind of all-rounder, I play orchestra, solo, and chamber music, I need a lot of flexibility, just the same as an amateur player does in a wind band. We need a lot of flexibility to be able to play all kinds of styles.
Talking about jazz music, we can hear two different kind of players. The band combo player usually requires an instrument that gives him a beautiful solo sound, as well as flexibility. And on the other hand, the lead trumpet players, like myself, who are leading a whole big band and playing with a lot of power, they require stability and an open feel in the higher register. But which model would you recommend for which type of player?
We have categorized our different models and hope this can be of help for you to choose the right instrument. This list can be downloaded from our homepage, yamaha.com. As a short recommendation, I would like to say the Los Angeles model, for instance, for a lead player. The new SEU, a good all-round instrument. The Chicago for orchestra players, or the Bobby Shoe for combo players. But this is just a very brief suggestion. Finding the right trumpet really means looking into it from many different aspects. Therefore, my suggestion would be to look for the opportunity to try as many instruments as possible to get a good overview. Our list should be of help to find the best instrument for yourself. Thank you guys for this great support.
You're welcome.
We hope we can make it easier for you to find the perfect instrument.